Ladies and gentlemen, look at that. That is gorgeous peanut brittle. It's the real deal, and I'm going to teach you this recipe and all of the little tricks that you need to know to make it nice and fluffy, like what you're seeing there. Something that's really very crystalline in its structure on the inside. Howdy folks, welcome to Texas Cooking Today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Texas Cooking Today cooking tutorial. Now on these tutorials I try to get into a little of the history of the recipe. I try to teach the best and latest techniques available and to show you the best way to pull off any recipe. We get into methodology, everything when it comes to cooking. So folks, kick your heels up, relax, kick back, and let's get in the kitchen and get busy cooking. Come on. Today I'm going to be making some peanut brittle. Peanut brittle is magnificent tasting when it's made right. If it's not, it's kind of chewy and flat and lifeless and boring and no fun. If you do peanut brittle the right way, it should be very porous on the inside. It should have a sharp snap to it when you break it or bite into it. It should be very crunchy and the peanut flavor should run throughout. The sugar should taste like peanuts, the peanuts should taste a little like sugar, and it should be wonderful all the way through. Peanut brittle is a dish I learned to make as a child. I watched my mother do this over and over as I was growing up. Every year we would have peanut brittle at the holidays, and so I enjoy sharing this with you. Peanut brittle is an American recipe. It was invented in the States. Guys, there's some conjecture over who made this and how it was invented. Some people say it was a mistake when a lady was trying to make taffy and she put baking soda in instead of cream of tartar and ended up getting peanut brittle. Well, you know what? I know how taffy's made, and I know how peanut brittle is made, and frankly there's some differences there that might make that story seem a little bit weird, and if you knew how to make taffy you would know what I mean. So I wonder if that's the truth or not, but the thing of it is it sprung up in the States and it grew like wildfire, and it's been around ever since. So we attribute this back to the late 1800s, around early 1900s period. And my mother, I quizzed her on this. She could not remember where she got the recipe from, but I'll say this, she's been making it my whole life. So it's been a long time that it's been in our family, so at least 50 years. Well, this is a wonderful recipe. Let me show you our ingredients, and it's not hard to make, but I would like to make a suggestion before we start on that. Get out a pad of paper and something to write with. This has a few very, very important details in it. If you don't follow through on the details on this, you will not have good peanut brittle. If you do follow through on those details, your peanut brittle will come out wonderful tasting. Okay? Let me show you the ingredients. Come on. Our ingredients for peanut brittle are a very short list and pretty simple. We have some water and corn syrup, raw Spanish peanuts. Now these cannot be cooked. They need to be a raw Spanish peanut, guys. It can't be pre-roasted or salted or any of that stuff. Plain raw Spanish peanuts, and you'll see why in a little bit. That's important. We have some vanilla, butter, baking soda, and this is sugar. Now your sugar can be a beet sugar, a cane sugar, whatever you like. This, as you'll notice, has a little different color than the white sugar a lot of people use. It's just a little more raw, that's all. So here we go, very simple ingredients. Now let's get busy making this. Folks, something that's real important. When you go to starting making your peanut brittle, go ahead and have stuff like this done in advance. If you noticed, all of my ingredients are already measured out. That's important. You're going to need your pan pre-buttered. Get a little bit up on those sides because it's going to rise up on the side a little bit. Now the reason we do this beforehand, and this is important, if you wait until the brittle comes off of the stove, it's too late. There's no time to do this. You have to pour it out immediately. So we do this in advance. And I have a ribbed pan here, so I want to make sure that that butter Gets in between those ribs really well. All right. Now if you'll notice also, all of my ingredients were pre-measured. When making candy like this, timing is absolutely essential. All right, and peanut brittle is a good recipe to learn how important timing is. Timing in the kitchen sometimes is the difference between a failed dish and a successful dish, and this is one of those dishes that requires good timing. The pot that I have for this, you've noticed, is a wide bottom pot. You're going to need something with a large bottom so it carries heat really well, but also when you go putting in your final ingredients like the baking soda, there is a reaction between that soda and the hot sugar, and that reaction is necessary, but you need to accelerate how fast it happens across the board because it's very quick, but it dies off almost as quick as it starts. We need to make the mixture aerated, and that's what does it for us. Okay, and that wider bottom just helps. If it's a deeper dish than this, that's fine. Just make sure it's a good size. Now, to make peanut brittle, the first thing we have to do is place our sugar and the corn syrup and our water, all three, into the pan. So, get my little mess going on here. I want to put that in there, and I need to pour my water right down in. Now, as you've noticed, the bowls mysteriously disappear from the frame. Yes, I do a little bit of video editing, make things nicer. Okay, this is our little sugar mixture. Now, once I get this starting to combine, and it's starting to, then I just go ahead and put a flame under it, and I want a medium to medium-high flame. And you're going to be heating this up and boiling off the water and bringing it up to 230 degrees. You remember when I told you that you needed to have something to write with, something that'll give you a way of remembering certain things? That's one of those numbers right there that you need to write down. That 230 degrees is the temperature this has to come up to. This is the importance of a candy thermometer. There's absolutely no way of knowing whether this temperature has come to 230 degrees without it. Now, there's different kinds of thermometers. You use whichever one you want, but you're going to need one. And that's all there is to it. So let's get this thing cooked up, and we're going to keep watching it, and I'm not going to record it straight through, but we're going to watch it off and on as it cooks, and I'll let you kind of have some idea of how long this is going to take. Now, what I want to do is I have a countdown or a timer here. So we're just going to take the timer, and I'm going to set this thing for 2 hours because this is going to take a little over, and I want to hit the start button, and it's going to start counting down. And at the end of this, once I have poured the peanut brittle out, we're going to then take a look at that timer again and get some idea of what it takes to make your peanut brittle. So you know, sugar does not like to boil. Sugar will resist boiling. So it's going to be kind of tricky getting it there. I just wanted to give you a close-up of my temperature gauge there. You can see the temperature starting to come up on it a little bit. We're up to about 125. This is a game of patience, ladies and gentlemen. There's no rush on this. You need to stir it occasionally, and that's all. The water, why did we use it? Well, we needed to dissolve the sugar and get the sugar to combine well with the corn sugar. That way we get this beautiful, well, basic mixed sugar that cooks into a candy very, very well. Then we take our peanuts once we hit 230 degrees and we start roasting those peanuts. As you can see, our temperature has come up dramatically, and we are getting now a boiling in the bottom of the pot, as you can see there. This is going to happen for a bit, guys. It's something I need to let you know about when you're making candy like this. When you first start bringing your sugars up in temperature, if you've never done heating sugar before, sugar can resist heat a lot. Okay, that's the reason they use glucose in radiator antifreeze, and that is because it doesn't boil or freeze easy. It resists intense temperature change. And that is glucose, of course, sugar. That's what you put in your radiator. That's what your antifreeze is. So here we get this boiling. We're just going to let it keep going like that, and it's going to take it a little while, guys. It does not want to come up to that 230 degree mark. So until that water boils off, it won't. And it's going to sit and foam and look kind of funky like this. Once the water cooks off, that will reduce back down and we'll have a nice even cook going on. You'll see what I mean. It's an interesting transformation. Now, as you see, we have less of that foaming going on, and that means that water is cooking off, okay? But until it cooks off, it's not going to come up to the temperature we need, which is our 230 degrees. See there, it kicking off that steam? And the thing of it was, guys, that water was in there for the purpose of combining sugar, okay? And, you know, getting that crystalline sugar to dissolve. That's the only reason. And we need it out of there at this point, so it has to be cooked out. And that is just me again saying, don't raise the temperature high, thinking you're going to get the right result. Medium to medium high in that bracket. All right, it looks like our temperature is coming up, and it is now hitting that 230 degree mark. Now, folks, I told you it was going to look a little different. You see how the activity in the sugar has calmed down. We're getting a different odor from it. It's a lot easier going. Now, what's going to happen here, I'm going to put my peanuts in this. When I put my peanuts down in here, the temperature on that sugar is going to fall again. Okay? Now, the whole idea of cooking it to 230 degrees was to make sure that we boiled out the excess water. And that we have done. We'll go ahead, get our peanuts in there. As I mentioned to you, they're going to cool that temperature down. It's going to bring it right down. Don't raise the temperature under the pot. Keep it heating at the same temperature, guys. If you'll notice, we have a little different color in our liquid. The sugar has changed color just slightly from its first cook. The peanuts are going to affect the color of it also. My thermometer, I need to keep it off of the bottom of my pan. Now we're going to keep these cooking in this liquid until it comes up in temperature. We need a final temperature of 320 degrees. That is when it's time to do our magic on this. So you'll know, again, this is a slow game, requires stirring throughout. You need to stir this about every 4 or 5 minutes. So basically just being nearby to give it a stir from time to time is all that's needed. Let it do its thing, and it will produce a wonderful, wonderful candy for you. Now look how it is changing. This is all part of the process. It's kind of fun to watch. It's really interesting when you see it go through its entire transformation. I don't know if you've noticed, but today I am using a different camera. It's a camera that was purchased with the proceeds of Texas Cooking Today. So to those of you who watch my show, I would like to say thank you very much. And I put the camera, or got this camera to reinvest into this show. I am committed, so just stick with me, and we're going to have fabulous recipes for years to come. Now look at this, isn't it gorgeous? And you see the bubbly, porous, bubbly, kind of foamy look that it has now? Well, this is the effect that I want it to have after it's dry. I want to see these kinds of bubbles running throughout the whole thing once it's dry and hard. And that is what we're going for. If you do it the right way, you'll get exactly that. Right now our timer is showing 134, so this has been cooking for about 26 minutes, roughly. You might have noticed earlier that had this butter down in the down in my vanilla extract. And in case you were wondering what's going on there, this is important, folks. You only have so many hands, all right? So what we do is we fix our final ingredients so that they are easy to dash and very quickly stir. And peanuts cooking up in that sugar. Our temperature, he's come up just a little bit, so it's happening, okay? Like I told you before, it's a patience game. Just let it keep cooking. This is all dictated, like I said, by the sugar, by the that thermometer there. This is important that you stir this with the peanuts in here, and don't let this sit for more than about 3 to 4 minutes. As they cook, you'll need to stir it more frequently as it gets hotter, okay? This is important. You don't want any of the peanuts to burn. If they begin to burn, it will completely spoil your entire dish because that flavor will run throughout. It's kind of like having burnt popcorn. The minute the bag is burned, everything in the bag is ruined. So, and I'm talking about, you know, that nasty microwave popcorn. However, you should get the inference that, yeah, it doesn't work well in the event that it burns. Keep stirring. Guys, take a look at that. Now my temperature on this is beginning to approach the 275 degree mark. In fact, it's there, which is a temperature that is referred to in candy making as soft crack, meaning that if I took this and poured it out onto the sheet right now, it would have a little bit of flex to it, and then it would break. And that's after it cools down, guys. When it cools down and it's you can touch it, that would be what soft crack is. It flexes a little bit, but then it cracks, it breaks. Now we're going to be taking this over what's called hard crack. Hard crack is about 302 degrees. Hard crack is when you pour your sugar out like this, and then it cools down. When you flex it, it won't bend at all. It will just immediately snap. Okay, and that'll be a brittle condition, a hard crack condition. That's the temperature you take it to when you're making hard candies. For instance, if I were making lemon drops, I would take that to just slightly over 300. I'd take it to about 305, and then I would put my lemon flavor in there and pour it out onto a pan or into my molds, and I would have lemon drops. So that's how that's done. Now when it comes to this, we want to go up to 320 degrees. Well, that's well above hard crack. What we want is caramelized sugar. And when you start getting that brown, that kind of a tan color, that is when it's caramelized. And that is additional flavor stacked on top of the beautiful flavors that we've already produced in here. So we have caramelized sugar, peanuts, we'll have the flavor of butter and vanilla. It will be absolutely banging good. Now remember, as I said earlier, when it gets to a high temperature, and that is 275 or above, keep stirring it much more frequently. You see how the peanuts are starting to turn tan now? Well, they will burn quickly at this point. Don't allow them to remain in contact with the bottom for too long without stirring and mixing them around. There we go. It's over 300 degrees. We have hit hard crack. Now remember, we're going to caramelize the sugar, so we keep cooking it, keep taking it up. We're going to go up to 320. And that doesn't take long at this point, guys. At this point, things happen quickly. So you got to be ready to quickly pour your final ingredients down into this and then immediately pour it out onto your baking pan. So you remember earlier when I would stir this, it would become foamy and vigorous, and now that's not really happening so much. A little bit, but not a lot. Yeah, I went back to the whisk. The end of this, I like to use my whisk because as you see, I can stir that very, very quickly. I want to do some rearranging on my items down here so that we can do this quickly. Presently, we are now at 108. My temperature is there right now. Now this is important. These both go in quickly, just like that. Stir fast. See how that worked? Pour it out. Now guys, when you pour that, you pour it in one location, and that's it. Don't move it, don't spread it, don't touch it, don't do anything at all to it. If you touch it or mess with it, it will fall. Right now, it's perfection. We just have to let it cool. So, once again, we play the patience game. When that cools so that it is cool to the touch, we're then ready to enjoy our peanut brittle. We'll break it and enjoy it. For the quantities of everything that you've seen used today, that was 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 cups of raw Spanish peanuts, 1/2 cup of water, 1 cup of light corn syrup, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now that this is poured out, and I've actually had a moment to begin soaking my pot, we are at 103, which means that this took just a hair under 1 hour. I'm looking at about another hour, at least an hour cooling time. Now, as I mentioned to you, try not to disturb your pan at all. Try not to move it or anything like that. If you do, it can cause this to fall. Once it sets up and really kind of hardens, then it will be finished off. Until then, we have to allow it to just kind of hang out on its own. Look at that. A beautiful, gorgeous peanut brittle. It's really porous. That's exactly what we're looking for in your best quality brittle. Wow. Perfect structure. There it is, folks. Perfect. Perfect peanut brittle. It's got that really super peanutty flavor. The caramelized sugar's just perfect. The color, an absolute perfect color for good peanut brittle. And the texture, the structure on that, doesn't get better. This is what you're looking for right here. And you found the right recipe for peanut brittle. Folks, thank you very much for watching this show and for subscribing to my subscribers. If you haven't, please do so. Also, please take a look at the channel. There's a lot of videos there. See, as of this production date, 422 episodes. There's a lot there to choose from. Please share this video, and if you would, please have a good holiday season, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye. There it is, folks. Thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking today. I appreciate that very much. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you've enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you clicking the like button. If you'll check out my channel, you'll find out I've got a lot of recipes on there. A lot of fantastic tutorials, some good information for you. So folks, thank you very much for watching, and well, please have a good day. Bye-bye.